Hey everyone, it's Maria Rothenberger from the Miracles Happen Fertility Center at drmariarothenberger.com. This is week 18 of the Compassion series that I am doing in 2020 following this book, A Year of Living with More Compassion, 52 quotes in 52 weeks. And again, this is week 18. It has been a wonderful year for spreading more compassion. This is, as of this recording, May 2020. And what a good year for more compassion being thrown around out there, right? I didn't know that I would need to be under quarantine and the whole world was going to be experiencing this global pandemic in January when I decided to do this. But I'm so glad that I decided to do this. And if you're anything like me, you have needed more compassion for yourself and for others while going through all of this. So this week, the quote is by the Buddha, and it goes like this. "O nobly born, remember your own loving heart. Trust it, honor it, follow it. It will bring you peace." I love this quote. I actually talk about this exact theme in my book, Transcending Infertility, which you can find out more about in transcendinginfertility.com. Excuse me, transcendinginfertilitybook.com. That will be published in fall of 2020. It's delayed quite a bit because of global pandemic. So I talked about this in my book, and I want to veer off the beaten path a little bit. Each quote has a little storyline or a little riffing on what the quote means, and then a practice for the week. I'd actually like to veer off the beaten path a little bit because one of the things that I think is important when we focus on the heart is an awareness of what the heart can actually do. Now, if you've not heard of Heart Math, the Heart Math Institute, head on over to heartmath.com. Incredible research about what the heart can do in terms of everything, not just like all the feels, but intuition, loving kindness, compassion, health, physical health. Amazing. But what I'm going to talk about today is obviously related to compassion. And one thing I want to start with is an awareness for you of the fact that historically we have learned that the brain, the communication between the heart and the brain is one way. So the brain talks to the heart. What we now know is that the heart talks to the brain. There is a four-way communication from the heart to the brain, neurologically, through the transmission of nerve impulses, biochemically, through the transmission of neurotransmitters, biophysically, through pressure waves, and energetically, through electricity, electromagnetic field. That's how the heart communicates to the brain. The brain communicates to the heart one way. So, what's also important, number 2, the heart has its own brain. Yeah, it has its own neuron-like cells that are capable of feeling, sensing, knowing, learning. How crazy is that? Okay, here's the point. If you are able to get into your heart space and learn and grow compassion and love and kindness, your brain will catch on eventually because it'll be transmitted. Compassion, love, tenderness, all those things will be transmitted to your brain from your heart. So here's the practice for this week. And you can look this up too. Dr. Google it up, the quick coherence technique. What coherence means is when the heart is producing, if you're on a biofeedback machine, if the heart is producing a sine-like wave, a very smooth little wave on the biofeedback machine or software, that is when your heart is coherent. Again, you can learn a whole lot more about that on heartmath.com. You can even find practitioners who can help you determine whether or not you are in heart coherence. Here's a quick way to get into heart coherence. All right, take some deep breaths. You want to slow down your breathing. Ideally, inhale to the count of 5, exhale to the count of 5. but it doesn't really matter the count. What really matters is that you slow your breathing a little bit. I'm going to do to the count of 5. Okay. So you do that for a few breaths, and then you're really focusing on your heart space. Okay, what that means, and I touch my heart because that helps me physically get into my heart space. That's what it means. Your awareness is in your heart. So if I were to say, hey, pay attention to your hand touching your knee right now, your awareness would be on your hand touching your knee. You're not thinking about what your left toe is doing. You're not aware of that. You're aware of what your hand is doing. That's an example. I want you to be in your heart space. Okay, I like to touch my heart, as I said. So be in your heart space, slow down your breathing, and you begin cultivating a sense of gratitude or any other positive emotion. I like gratitude because you can think of something immediately that you are grateful for, even when you are in a really tough spot like the world is right now. So it can be as little as, I like to reference that new minty toothpaste that you got. We actually did just get a new minty toothpaste that's really powerful. It's maybe a little too powerful for me. But anything that you're grateful for. I love books. I actually just picked up a series again that I'll be reading again. I haven't read in a few years, and it's my favorite. I'm really grateful for that. So I'm in my heart space thinking about the time that I get to spend reading this, my favorite series. Slowing down your breathing. And if I were hooked up to a biofeedback software, biofeedback machine, you would see my heart have a sign, my heart rhythms, my heart variability, heart rate variability, it's called. You would see it have this long, slow curve. If I were incoherent, you would see this very jagged, up and down, sort of ragged, wave-like pattern. So what does this do for compassion? Well, it helps your heart get into that calming space, that very coherent space, so that you can more easily generate feelings of compassion. And especially right now, please start with yourself. If you're going through a really rough time, especially if you're dealing with fertility issues and a global pandemic on top of everything else, you really want to start with you. So start with you, having some compassion for yourself. Maybe you had some behavior that you didn't really like. Maybe you had some thoughts that you didn't really like. Maybe you don't like yourself for something that happened. Really generate some compassion for yourself, as if maybe you were a friend or another loved one. So that's what this does. It helps garner some positive affect, some positive emotion in your body, and that spreads out. You'll find that the more that you practice this, and I hope you do every day this week, the more that you practice this, the easier that it gets, and it literally takes 2 minutes. 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, longer if you want to. And what you find is that the compassion spreads out. If you do this in the morning, every morning for the next week, you'll find that your interactions for the day are far more in heart coherence, far more in compassion than they were a week ago. All right, that is a focus on the heart for this week. Head on over to heartmath.com if you want more information. And of course, I always recommend picking up A Year of Living in More Compassion. I'll see you next week.